Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina with another Sunday night live stream show. That's right, it's Sunday night, y'all, and it's time for our live stream show. Tonight we got a special one lined up for y'all. Got a lot of stuff to talk about, and got a few guest callers tonight. Not only Captain Mike Anderson, who's going to call in and give us that Inshore update, but we've got Captain Joe Drew from the Flying Hub 2 calling in. We've also got Captain Brian from our long-range 39-hour and 44-hour trips calling in too. So lots of updates from the water tonight and switching it up a little bit on you and keeping it fresh. So hopefully you're ready for a great show. Don't forget, this show is brought to you by Gator Gyms, and every show is brought to you by our friends over at Gator Gyms Tackle. 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. If you haven't checked them out yet, make sure you do so. They are great people over there, and make sure you tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. We appreciate it. And then also, before we get rolling, go Bolts. They want it. They want it tonight. So the Bolts are coming back in that series, hoping and praying they get the next one at home, and they'll tie it up here before going back to New York. So here's the hoping, right? Also, shout out to those of you who have sent stars on Facebook. The stars on Facebook are a way that people are able to show their support, and it really helps kind of fuel the show. Craig Robinson, Michelle Mercer, Steve Batchelor, Diane Thrasher, Terry Feather, Lance Hall, Larry White, Richard Blazak, Mike D, and Jim Evans. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for sending those stars. It's a huge help and a big support. And also shout out to our subscribers out there. Jim Evans hit 16 months tonight. Chris Presley at 20 months. Appreciate you guys for being subscribers. As always, our subscribers group fuels the show too. Thank you guys so much. And don't forget, if you're a subscriber, to tune in to our subscribers after show, which will announce the time at the end of this show, let you guys know when the Slack Tide supporter show is going to start after our main live show. Also, if you want to win free trips, we give away over $800 in free trips every Sunday night during this show. All you have to do is comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. So go over to Facebook, find the Hubbard's Marina page, comment at least one time, something, anything at all, preferably where you're watching from, in the Hubbard's Marina Facebook live stream. That enters you for a chance to win free trips. Also, don't forget to comment where you're watching from. Make sure you like the video if you're watching on Facebook. Give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and follow us on Trovo, Twitch, and then Instagram. If you're watching on Instagram, don't forget you can go over to your phone's browser, hit Instagram.com, and then once you're on Instagram.com, you can turn your phone sideways and see the full screen. Gary Cambridge, appreciate those stars, buddy. Thank you so much. Now, with that, we are going to get into our inshore photos, show you guys what we've been catching inshore, and then we're going to work our way near shore and offshore. But like I said, Captain Joe Drew is going to be calling in here shortly, and we'll get to him and chat with him for a little bit. And then we'll take back up the photos, get into the weather, and then Captain Mike should be calling us shortly after that. And then we'll get into your questions, and then Captain Brian will be calling us later in the show too. But inshore fishing, it's pretty darn hot right now. The snook have loaded back into the passes. We're seeing a lot of snook around the docks in the morning. So much so, even I can catch them. The other morning, my daughter woke me up early and couldn't go back to bed, so I made it down to the dock about 4:15 in the morning. And we were waiting for the 39-hour trip to come in Friday morning, and blasted this nice snook there. Thursday morning, they were also super thick, but unfortunately kind of got my butt handed to me a little bit, got broke off. But Friday morning came back, a little heavier leader, a little extra drag, a little better prepared, and made it happen. Mangrove snapper are also super thick right now. Water's warming up. The mangrove snapper are getting thick around the dock. We don't see a lot of them in the early morning. I see more sheep's head in the early morning when we're snook fishing, but during the day, the mangrove snapper are thick. Today, Estelle Wolfman was down at the dock fishing for bait prior to the 39-hour trip, and she was catching a bunch of those mangrove snapper while she was hunting those snook. She did get broke off by 2 snook, by the way. But she did hook 2 snook. So even during the day, the snook bite is going pretty good too. So you never know when you're going to get hooked up there. If you're fishing down at the dock for snook, you're going to run into those voracious mangrove snapper for sure. But Captain Joe's on the phone. What's going on, Captain Joe?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going, brother. Another Sunday night in paradise, you know.
Yeah.
How you doing? You must be tired.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I just got done eating dinner. I just wanted to call in and talk about the snapper season so far.
You guys have been absolutely slaying it to start off snapper season. I know you got a little screwed up there because of the weather, but you guys were catching some serious fish right before that weather blew through on the first and second day. Limits of red snapper in just a few short hours, right?
Yeah, I did some pre-fishing before the season. We had a lot of charters just before season, 12-hour charters. We were catching a lot of red groupers, but I did a little pre-fishing too and tried some snapper spots. And yeah, we've pretty much been catching our limit by like 10 o'clock. That's with 16 people.
That's awesome.
With the red snappers, and the grouper bite's been just as hot. Really, gag grouper fishing right now is just unbelievable.
As good as it gets. And you've been catching a lot of those big red grouper. I've seen some really nice scamp grouper coming up on your trips too. And
yeah, a lot of big red grouper with the scamps. But the red grouper fishing was good before season. It's like a light switch just turned with the gag grouper bite. It's really, really good. The best I've seen in years. We've had the last few years have been a really good bite. The gag fishery has really made a comeback, I think, in the last even 4 or 5 years. But this that's early, but so far this season, it's the best I've seen in quite some time.
That's awesome, man. And remember, guys, you got to get it in while you can, because those gags are not going to be open very long next year. We're only going to have maybe a month, maybe 2 months next year. So get it in this year while you can. And I know you were saying you were having a lot of trouble with those gags. I think it was the second day of red snapper season on your trip. You guys limited out with red snapper with ease. And then you had some guys on the boat who were using lighter tackle, kept getting broke off on gags, and you actually tried to avoid the gags, and you just kept finding more big gag grouper.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened. First day was great. We you always break off a handful of fish. It's just part of the game that we're in. But the second day, yeah, the private charter, and they were great fishermen, just like to fish a little lighter, and we got our snapper limit, and I started fishing real small pieces of bottom for the gags, and they were there. We brought a bunch home, but we lost probably twice as many as we brought home. So yeah, I was trying new stuff, just little shows, little pieces of bottom, and probably added 6, maybe even 8 new spots.
That's awesome.
To my book that were just nothing but gag groupers. We would stop and catch 4 or 5 and break off 6 or 7.
That's crazy.
And not catch a single other fish. Just gag groupers only. No red snappers. We did get a couple of red groupers on a few of the spots, but the gags are just hot and heavy right now. I've fished so far 170 out to 210, and it seems like they're thick from 170 to 210. I haven't had a trip where we've not gotten on a really hot gag bite. The weather's really,
awesome.
really good right now. Today was hot out there, but we still had a nice breeze. The current's not been too bad. We've had a great anchor heading. So the weather's great. Had a couple cancellations, and actually had some guys walk up and were able to get on the boat. So
yeah. And I know a lot of people have been talking about those 12-hour extremes, like, oh, it's such a cool trip, wish I could go, but you're all sold out. And like Joe said, just recently we've had it happen twice where at 4:45 in the morning, someone doesn't show up, they're not answering their phone, we can't get them on the phone, and they just don't make it to the 12-hour extreme trip. And then the boat's about to leave the dock with one open spot, and someone walks up. So if you want to get on one of these 12-hour extreme trips with Captain Joe and you can't find one with an open spot to book in your local, you can just show up. And a lot of times there's going to be an open spot. And if there's not, you can bring a spinning rod with you, go down up underneath the bridge and fish for snook from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. And it's a win-win.
Yeah, the snook are thick down there in the morning right now, too. Actually, me and a couple of the guys this morning, we had some extra time on our hands. We were looking at them. They're stacked up down there. I think, but speaking of openings, I believe, I could be wrong, I haven't looked in a week or so, but I think we have a handful of openings in July, don't we, on some of the open boats?
Yes, yeah, we got a handful of openings in July and mid-August, too, on the 12-hour extreme. A lot of people book June, and they kind of forget about July, and then especially forget about early August. And a lot of people are kind of leery, like, oh, red snapper season could close early. I want to get my trips in June. That's not true. The feds can't get their data quick enough, can't process data quick enough. There is no way that our season will be cut short. It's going to be open June 1st through end of day August 18th. So you got time. You got opportunities to book those trips for sure. And Captain Joe's smacking them, and I know you got to wake up early again tomorrow, man, so I don't want to hold you on the phone too long.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to mention one more thing. We're smoking the fish right now. It's early season. It's always good, but I like to tell people who are booking. I run a few other trips or asking about trips. That even it takes us a couple of weeks to really, really get dialed in. So by July, we've really got the fish dialed in. So like you said, you don't have to get out the first week or second week or even fourth week of snapper season. The first week of July, we've really got the snappers figured out. We're following the fish at that point from 170, 180, 190, 200, wherever they're at, we're following at that point. So July's a great time to go, too. July's one of my favorite months to fish for red snappers. And still the gag groupers, too. Red groupers, it's a good time. So let's try to get these trips filled up.
Amen to that. Well, I appreciate it, brother, and you enjoy your night, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you around.
All right, thanks, man.
See you, Joe.
See ya.
Fishy cat there, man, and they are definitely stroking those fish out there on the Flying Hub, too. Let's get back, speaking of fish, let's get back to our photos and show you guys the rest of the inshore photos, and then we'll work our way near shore and offshore before we get our next phone call here. Snook bite, like we were saying, they're stacked up in the passes. They're still pretty active in the back bay around the mangroves. Dock lights, bridge lights at night, great options. During the day, out on the beaches, really, really thick along the beaches. Trout bite still going good. You got to find them on those edges of the shallower flats or look for them around those deeper flats. We're also seeing a few of them around dock lights, bridge lights at night around the pass. Out on the beach, they're still catching a few trout too. So all good options for those speckled trout. Pompano bite still good, going well on the beaches. Mackerel have fallen off around the jetties, but we're definitely still seeing plenty of those pompano, especially kind of early morning is when you're going to have a better shot at those pompano. Now let's work our way near shore and offshore, show you guys what we've been catching out there in the big water. The 39-hour trip, the 12-hour extreme trip have been stroking the fish. Like Captain Joe said, the gag bite's going extremely well. We're catching nice big scamp mixed in there with some solid gag grouper. Look at that thing. Our buddy Kevin holding up a big gag. There's Estelle with a nice gag grouper. Some hogfish on the near shore trip still, catching them on those 5 and 10-hour trips, still seeing the hogfish. It's not super crazy for the hogfish, but we're catching a handful of them there on those 5 and 10-hour trips. Here's another gag from the 12-hour extreme trip. Definitely a nice one. Red grouper still coming up. The nice hogfish, gags, red grouper, hogfish, gag, scamp. Look at that scamp. One of my favorite eating fish. Beautiful, beautiful scamp grouper. It's been crazy out there, and the weather is spectacular right now. Triggerfish have closed, but we still got those red grouper, scamp grouper, gag grouper, mangrove snapper, catching some big mangroves, catching and releasing those triggerfish, keeping those gags, big fat red grouper, scamp, and mangroves. And look at this, old step stool Mike Splash Baker got himself another sailfish. That makes 3 for old Splash, catching him left and right out there in deeper water. This one was kind of tangled up, had to bring it on board the boat, but made for a nice quick photo. That is Mike's good buddy who happened to be out fishing, and they caught that beautiful catch and release sailfish. And then a nice big old mangrove to top it off. Nice gags from even the Nearshore private charter. The Hub boat catching some keeper gag grouper. Solid fat red grouper. Still catching those catch and release triggers. Big scamp. And then we caught a couple red snapper too. There's a few red snapper. Yeah, that's it. All right. Moving on. Red snapper. They're out there. We're catching them. And they bite on anything. You can use any tackle. It's really, really easy. But big gags, heavy tackle. That's the key right now. 100-pound leader. 100-pound is minimum if you're using big live bait. If you're dropping down a live bait, you need to have 80-pound leader. If you're dropping down a big dead bait, you need to have 80-pound leader. If you're dropping down a really big dead bait or a really big live bait, 100-pound. Definitely use that 100-pound leader is going to be your best bet to catch one of those keeper-size gag grouper. They are biting extremely well. We're seeing a lot of them out there in deep water, but we're losing a lot of them. People fishing 60-pound leader, 80-pound leader, you're not going to be able to get that big keeper gag up unless you just get a little bit lucky. With that, let's see who won our 5-hour half day for 2 guests, $150 value coming at you. William Solner. Congratulations, William, with that 5-hour half day for 2 guests win from Lockport, New York. Remember, if you get picked as one of those lucky winners, you do have to text us your full home address within 5 minutes to prove you're watching live. So text us your full home address within 5 minutes to prove that you're watching live if you're picked as one of the lucky winners, like Will. So moving on to some weather here. Let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing weather-wise. And again, we are not seeing anything weather-wise right now. It is absolutely spectacular. We're going to go to our weather links page, go over here. We're just going to skip right to the offshore deep water forecasts. Look at all that spectacular flat calm condition. This is new. I haven't seen this weather at all. So this is just picking up. But again, it's very early. This is quite a ways out, and it's still not bad. Oh, my goodness, Josh. You see that? It picks up to a whole 2 foot of, there it is, I can zoom in. It gets as rough as 2.5 foot, guys. Oh my goodness. That is some rough weather. I'm throwing up. 2.5 foot is as rough as we see. This buoy is about 105 miles southwest of Johns Pass, and no wind in the forecast. And just 2.5 foot seas is as worse, as bad as it gets, and that's gorgeous. So very excited about that beautiful forecast, and very excited to get a nice long stretch of good weather. We are seeing some kind of super advanced forecasts for later June, like June 20th, 23rd-ish, that we could potentially be seeing some tropical activity, but that is so early, we're not even going to show you it because it can change so much. But there are some things on the radar for later in the month, but right now, weather looks good, fishing is great. It is time to get out there on the water. I cannot emphasize that enough. So Captain Mike should be calling here very shortly, but before he does, while we're waiting for him to call, let's answer a few questions. Remember, if you do have a question that you want answered during the live show, you got to text in your question right here to this phone number if you want your question answered live during the show, because if you type in a question to the comments, we are live on Trovo, Twitch, YouTube, multiple Facebook channels, Instagram. I will not see your comments if you type it into the chat. So if you have a comment that you want me to see or a question you want me to answer, you have to text us in to this phone number, your question or comment. First one, what's the limit on gag grouper? You're allowed 2 per person per day, 4 total on a 39 or 44 hour, 2 total on a 12-hour extreme, just like red snapper. At least this year, it's 2 per person per day for 6 months. Keep in mind, that can change. Kevin McDowell, thanks for being a new subscriber, buddy. You're going to enjoy the subscribers after show, the supporters after show. It's a lot of fun. And the supporters group, the private group you gain access to becoming a supporter, it's a lot of fun. So check that out. You get behind the scenes videos and a little bit more communication. You'll like it. What's your opinion on fresh goggle eye for bottom grouper bait? For me, I would say if I was in your position going out fishing on a 39 hour and I was going to spend some money on frozen bait, I would buy bonita, frozen octopus, frozen whole squid, frozen cigar minnows, in that order, well before I bought goggle eyes. And then it would be bonita, octopus, whole squid. What was the other one I said? Cigar minnows, the Boston mackerel, ladyfish, mullet, all before I would buy frozen goggle eyes, because in Central West Florida, we don't have goggle eyes. That's not a natural bait to our area, so I wouldn't recommend it necessarily. If you were going to fish the East Coast, Southeast Florida, the Keys, that might make a little bit of sense. But here in Central West Florida, we don't have the goggle eyes. It's not a natural bait, so it's not going to work as well as some natural baits. One kind of off-the-wall bait that's been working really well lately has been the pass crabs. We have some pass crabs, and we're definitely using quite a bit of pass crabs for those tarpon. People are using the pass crabs on 39-hour trips, catching fat red grouper, scamp, and big hogfish with them. We're seeing people use them in deeper water more and more often. Christine, appreciate those stars. Lance Hall, I appreciate those stars as well. Thank you, guys. Let's see, what other questions do we have? What's the best bait for scamp grouper? A small pinfish, slow pitch jig, or hammered diamond jig? A smaller one bounced right on the bottom, or a strip of squid works really well. I catch a lot of scamps just fishing for mangroves, cut threadfin. The best bait for gag grouper lately has been a whole threadfin with a strip of squid. That's been a really good bait for the red snapper too. Dead bait has definitely been working really, really well offshore right now. To be honest, will red snapper eat just about anything if presented when they were eating? Yes, 100%. Red snapper is the most overrated fish that swims in the Gulf of Mexico. It's the dumbest. It's the most aggressive. You could literally drop down a butter knife with a hook attached to it and you'd catch a red snapper. If you're out there in an area where red snapper are and any fishing action is occurring, they are going to eat no matter what you put down there. Whether it's a chunk of banana, fried chicken, a piece of watermelon, a grape, it doesn't matter. They will eat it. Red snapper are extremely aggressive and super easy to catch. So not a problem to catch plenty of red snapper. Like I said, and like Captain Joe said, they're limiting out a boat limit of red snapper on the Flying Hub 2. We take 16 people, so that's 32 red snapper. They're catching them in an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours at most. 39-hour trips when we actually go to start targeting those red snapper, it only takes us a couple hours to get a boat limit. That's 200 red snapper. That's 50 people times 4 because it's a 2-day trip. That's 200 red snapper that we're catching in a matter of just a few hours. That's how aggressive they are. That's how easy they are to catch. It's a super, super, super overrated fish. Let's see. What other questions do we have here? Uh-oh. What's the best color combination for slow pitch jigs for grouper and American red snapper? Colors do not matter for American red snapper. It could be poop brown and they'll eat it. Gag grouper, I've heard the pinks, the greens, the reds work really well for gag grouper, but I've been catching a lot of them with blues. I like the silver and glow, blue and glow, wavy. It's a Jig Pro, JYG Pro wavy. 150 gram jig has been my go-to so far in the slow pitch jigging game. Had a lot of success with it. And the blue and glow, silver and glow have been my two favorite. But we have a bunch of different options in the shop, and I stacked up on that lure specifically. Plus, one of my good buddies, I can never remember his name off the top of my head, Nick Haddad from Return 'em Right. So the Return 'em Right program, you guys have heard me talk about that. Return 'em Right, that's the venting and descending project that we're working on in the Gulf of Mexico to get people free venting gear or free descending gear. All you have to do is go to Return EM Right. So returnmright.org. It's a very hard website to kind of sound out, but returnmright.org. If you go to that website, you take a little 10, 15 minutes, you over $100 in free stuff, descending gear to use on your next offshore adventure. It's a really, really cool option. Josh just dropped a link in the Facebook chat on the Hubbard's Marina page if you want to check it out. But the Return 'em Right program is a really cool program, great way to get over $100 in free stuff. All you have to do is visit their website and take that little short course, and they'll mail it right to your house. But my buddy Nick Haddad, who runs that program, went out fishing recently, and he was jigging with those new Mustad octopus jigs. And I was like, all right, I saw him come out at ICAST, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I like it. I want to try one. And then I kind of forgot about it, but then he sends me this photo of this, like, 45, 50-pound gag that he caught using one of those octopus jigs. My rep just came in recently, and I ordered every size from 50 grams to 260 grams in 4 different colors of that octopus jig. So I'm pretty excited for those to come in. They're definitely going to be cool. But we'll get to some more questions here in a minute. We got Capt Mike Anderson on the phone to give us a little inshore update, some inshore flavor to this show. What's up, Mike?
How are you, my friend? Sorry I'm a little late there. I got a little carried away with the basketball game, so my apologies.
I thought your phone had come unclipped from your belt buckle loop.
I'm going to unclip you the next time I see you. That's what's going to happen.
Basketball tournament. Georgia's playing again?
No, it was the NBA Finals is on tonight, so game 2. So I got a little carried away in the game there, and I looked at my phone. I'm like, dope, got to give Big D Hubs a call. So
did the Warriors make it, or is it the Celtics and the Warriors? Right?
Warriors and the Celtics. Yep.
Nice. Yeah, I hope Steph Curry pulls it out. I like him.
Yeah, I do too.
Finesse.
I do too. I got a high school, a dude that was on my basketball team in high school, a year behind me. His son plays for the Celtics now.
Oh, that's cool.
He's a rookie with the Celtics. Yeah, Sammy Hauser. So wow. I'm a little torn because I always pull for Steph Curry and I like the Warriors, but it'd be kind of cool to see Sammy get a ring. So he was a Wisconsin Mr. Basketball. Him and his brother both. His younger brother did as well. So
that's
his
cool.
Younger brother plays at Michigan State now. So yeah, it's a pretty cool story. Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, Mike is also very athletic. He served in the Air Force, and he can play basketball and softball.
I'm old now, though. I'm old. D. I'm old, buddy.
Moving on to fishing. How are the tarpon doing, dog?
Well, I mean, I just had a rough week last week on the tarpon. I was on a lot of fish. There was a lot of fish around. There was a lot of happy fish around, but in my trip on Thursday, I just couldn't get a beat. We threw everything in the kitchen sink at them and just could not. I only saw one fish hooked up all morning. I'm sure there were a couple more. Obviously, guys got bit here and there, and just the big pod that I was on, I only saw one fish get bit out of it. I found some fish out on the beach all by themselves, just milling. Perfect scenario. Just couldn't get bit out of them. Was kind of crazy. Tried every different angle and approach and different baits. Thread fins, alive, dead, tail cut off, all kinds of different stuff. Split shot, no split shot. Crabs, split shot, no split shot, under a cork. We threw everything at them and just couldn't get a beat, which is tarpon fishing. It's just kind of the way it goes.
I mean, a professional fisherman watching tarpon after tarpon school roll by for 6 hours still couldn't get them to chew. So don't feel bad, guys, if you're out there trying to target tarpon and you can't get them to eat. It happens, even to the best. It does.
It's just kind of the way it works. Now, the snook bite was really good all week. The gag grouper bite as well inside Tampa Bay was pretty good. I saw several guys who had keeper gag grouper this week inside Tampa Bay, so that was good to see. Mangrove snapper bite is still hot. There's still some mackerel around, so it's good fishing. I know we've got pretty temperamental tides here. They're not going to be really rocking and rolling here for the first couple of days this week, so we're going to kind of deal with those tides a little bit and fish our way around them. But there's so many snook around if you get on the right flats. I've been telling everybody, without trying to give out every spot I have, just find grass. The flats that seem to be covered in beautiful, healthy grass that unfortunately we don't see on every flat anymore like we should.
Yeah.
Those flats seem to be holding the most fish. They're going to hold the bait because that obviously that estuary is going to hold bait. It's not only the pinfish and the white bait and the thread fins, but it's also going to hold crabs and shrimp and all that good stuff in the grass. But that seems to be where I'm having the best luck.
That's awesome.
So that's what I would look to target.
Healthy,
and there's plenty of white bait around. Lots
turtle grass. That healthy turtle grass, that thick blade.
Yep.
It's hard to find some healthy turtle grass flats that aren't scarred up.
But that's my very first. Well, and not only are we talking about the scars, but we're talking about flats that no longer have it.
Yeah.
And that's due to the poor water quality that we've been dealing with here the last couple of years. So I think that's all part of it. I think that's what's making, Fort DeSoto is a really tough bite right now. And I'm not saying that, I haven't fished there and had decent days, because I had, but you really have to grind.
Yeah.
And there really shouldn't be a grind in April, May, and June on Tampa Bay. It should be the easiest fishing of the entire year. Yeah. But that whole area, Pinellas Point and Fort DeSoto, they got whacked so hard last year from that spill at Piney Point. So that thing spilled, southeast wind blew in, and it blew all that bad water right across.
Yeah.
And that's the shoreline that took the brunt of it. Now, there's still a lot of areas along Piney Point and that area that don't have good grass anymore either. We're going to have to wait for that recovery to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that's really been the key for me. Now, we're catching some fish on the flats that aren't grassy and sexy like they've been in the past. But if the really good numbers where you can sit and catch 30, 40 snook on a single grass flat, those are the ones that are healthy. That's just, what I've observed here the last couple of weeks is, we're catching some fish in other places where things are a little sparse, whatever the right word is there. But if you find that the healthier flats, that's where the big numbers are.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You lost me because you described the grass flat as sexy. And that is at least the third time I've heard you use that exact word to describe grass flats in structure.
Yeah, well, to me, that's what it is. I mean, yeah, if you are an inshore charter captain or an inshore fisherman, You know, I mean, to me,
Rolls
that is
up on
sexy. Big school of redfish. That's sexy. You know, you look at your bottom machine that's covered in mangrove snapper and things like that. That's sexy for sure. things that make Captain Mike happy.
Yes, the list is short.
Very
guys.
much. Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate it, brother. I'll let you get back to the game, and thanks for calling in and giving us the update, brother.
Yeah, again, my apologies for being late, but I appreciate you taking my call anyway. I thought with me calling in late, you might just dump me all together, so I appreciate you still letting me in. You're
Mike.
You're a good man, my friend. Have a great week out there. You guys be safe, and we'll get caught up next weekend.
All right, man. We'll see you Saturday morning, 6 a.m. for another radio show. If you guys haven't watched, you're missing out every Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. on the Real Animals Facebook page, the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page, or News Radio 970 WFLA. Thanks, Mike. Have a good night, buddy.
Have a good night, my friend. See you, buddy.
See ya. Sexy. He calls everything sexy. It's so funny. All right, let's get into some more of your questions, guys. Remember, if you have a question you want answered during the show, you have to text in your question to that phone number, guys, because if you don't text in your question, we're not going to see it in the chat. So make sure you text it in. So I think now is the time to go ahead and do another free trip giveaway. We got Tim Dykes, Brian Hausler. Appreciate those 400 stars, guys.